Edgar Cayce. Yes, we have the entity in those relations with the universe and universal forces, as are latent and exhibited in the present entity. In entering we find astrologically the entity coming under the influence of Aquarius and Venus, Jupiter, Mercury, and Neptune. Water will ever be a factor in this body's endeavours. The body should ever live near large bodies of water. Be more careful of those of high mountains or gorges, and of distant places. In entering, we find the influences that give to the entity exceptional abilities in the present experience, in lines or individual factors. These, kept in the manner toward which the entity would apply one's influence, by keeping an ideal, not an ideal, before self, will build for self that which will carry the entity to where few, if any, appearances would be necessary again in this mundane sphere. In the abilities as come through the influences in Aquarius, we find the entity could, or would, be able to apply self in influencing those that have to do with mathematical calculations, especially regarding aeronautics or boat building. The entity may become an architect beyond compare, provided these have to do with those elements that have to do with water or air. Those influences in Jupiter and in Neptune bring for the entity those desires of study, those desires of loneliness. Yet the life filled with those conditions that have to do with people. People and things, both, interest the entity. The barter and sale interest little. Monies mean little to the entity, save as for to procure that necessary in the affairs of everyday life. Rather those of character, and those of that builds for an individual as to being their worth, and their worth to the entity meaning their ability to aid in given direction, or in giving to individuals or groups that which will aid them in making life either easier or more profitable, whether for monies or for pleasures, or for own development. In the likes and dislikes for this entity, these are apparently contradictory, for affection or love rules the life in many respects, yet little affection is shown, except in some directions, yet the deeper affection, as friendships, and love of individuals and of things, are to the entity of the same nature, yet these, builded in a manner, are better in the application in the present experience. To the entity friendships are strong. Dislikes are also strong, but the actions and dislikes are rather as if they did not exist, or as if individuals or things did not exist. The entity then is, in a manner, not a fatalist, yet activities would tend to make one believe such were the innate beliefs of the entity. Rather the love of the whole, or of the oneness of all force, gives that portion in the life that brings those conditions which build. In the mathematical end of development may the entity gain much, especially in study that has to do with the mystic, and the mysticism of numbers. These to the entity may be made much worthwhile. The entity may aid self, aid others, in the study of not only astrology but astronomy, and numbers as associated with same, aiding individuals in that, through that may be builded from character, as related to individual development, and the entity may then find that which may become, in this individual application of truths, that as the astrologer then for same, through numbers. Not through astrology alone. Rather numbers, and the application of numbers and numerology in its deeper sense. These are the elements that interest the entity. These may be worked out with mathematical precision in many individuals, yet applied with that as may be attained from an individual's life appliance, that is, the application of the individual towards life itself, or towards the entity's application of life in its own individuality. These may aid much in the establishing of truths in these directions. In the appearances in the earth plane, these we find coordinate with these very conditions that may be builded in the entity, for, in the one before this we find the entity was the monk in that rule when the peoples of New England set out for the Holy Land to defend the cross against those inroads of the insurging crowds or hordes over the land. The entity remaining, yet following same and ever begrudging, as it were, those that were able in physical manner to carry forward that felt within self the defence of that ideal. In the name Islak, the entity changed same, in the taking of the head, to that of Adria. In this present experience, these of study, these of the stars, these of mystic numbers, places, conditions, are all absorbing to the entity. Rather apply same as to the relationships of numbers, mystic forces and symbols, to that of the creative energies as are given through him that came as the ransom for many, making man one with the creative energy in life, in the manner of showing forth to others that the pathway may be led in the direction where all may be one with that energy. So, in numbers, so, in mystic forces, so, in the cycle of things, may this entity, applying same with the life was led by the Master, guide many, as aids in physical, in material, in spiritual life. In the one before this we find the entity was among those who were of the wise men coming into Jerusalem and to Bethlehem when the Master came into the earth. The entity then in the name Astrological, coming in from the mountains of what is now known as Arabia and India. The entity gained through this period in pointing out that through the various forces as were added in the experiences of man with that creation of forces necessary to keep the balance in the universal forces, the earth must bring forth that would make man's balance of force with the creative energy as one, and the Son of Man appeared. The entity brought the frankincense and gave same to the Master at that period. In the one before this we find in that land where divisions arose, or as may be called Egypt now, when there was the building of those that came to understand the teachings as were being propounded by the professors, the doctors, the lawyers, the artisans. The entity builded in that of setting up the first study of how that the square of the one equal in the square of the other, as related to numbers, and the positions of numbers as related to the stars in the universe, and the relation of one to another. The entity will easily understand Einstein's theory. Forward. In the abilities in the present experience, the entity gains and loses. Loses in the gratifying of selfish desires. In the application of the present, still we find figures, numbers, and people's mental development most interesting. As to the abilities, then, and the application of same in the present, in the studies as are being made here, will the entity apply self in that direction, the entity may become that one that may aid much in having individuals understand numbers, mysticism of numbers. Also in the relationships of astrological effects, without the application of will in the lives of individuals. Ready for questions. Q. In what way may the entity be of assistance in the work of the Association of National Investigators, Incorporated? A. Just given. Q. In what specific capacity? A. Just given. Become the astrologer for the association's membership. Giving to these the weeks, the years, and that influences without respect of will, or an interpreter with same of that information as to how an individual has or has not applied will forces in the Earth's experience. Also the relationship of the sojourn in the various elements that have to do with the spheres is related to Earth's sphere, the variations from one passing through Arcturus to other forces, or returning to Saturn. We are through.